So you saw a brief snippet of the violence. I'll tell you, effectively, the video begins. A child in the back of the bus turns on, I guess, the phone that he has with him and begins videotaping. And the little girl, who I believe to be Hispanic, light-skinned Hispanic, is having a tussle back and forth with a little boy who is black, probably her age. And he's punching her. He's whacking her. And then this, as you saw, this teenager stands up and then starts going on her, throwing blows to her head. And I guess maybe, I don't know if the teenager and the black teenager and the black little boy are related directly, or if they're just both black. And so he felt like he was going to beat on the little Hispanic girl because she's fighting with a little black boy. I don't know. But you can see how vicious and violent. Now, here's something. Western norms gone. Western rules of conduct, expectations gone. Absolutely gone. The school bus not only has the school bus driver, which should have order over the bus. You know, when Western norms, when our counties, our communities, our schools were not white erased, you could have like a 90-year-old school bus driver. How many of you had the 90-year-old school bus driver and everybody obeyed her? She was frail or fat or plump or whatever. She couldn't stop a fight. She couldn't do anything but drive the bus. She did it well. They could count on her. She would show up to work. She would drive kids safely. She would get to the destinations, right? When things were very white, when they were very, and as a consequence, very Western, and we do not, for those out there who get squeamish about, oh God, he's talking about it, we did something good. That's a sign that you have been victimized, that you are infected with anti-whiteism. You have to work on that. And we are here to help you for that. We're going to be nice. We're going to hold your hand. We have to talk about where we are being victimized. We have to be able to be proud of who we are and what we do. Why? Because the world needs us to be proud of who we are and do what we do. Do you understand? Since we have surrendered that, the world looks more and more like this. Since we have surrendered that, the world looks more and more like Ecuador, more and more like these countries around the world from which these people stream every opportunity. Every opportunity. No one stays there. The other countries of the world, no one outside the West, no one stays unless they're riding high. They're too dumb to leave. They can't. They're stuck there for family or whatever it is, some other sort of connection. Or there isn't a lie they can tell to get into the West. So there's something about the West. Now, I am a firm believer that there's no cosmic measuring stick. There isn't any way to measure that one culture is better than the other. And I don't personally think that. I think that what I create, what my people create, is just right for me. And that what other people's create is just right for them. Perfect. It's perfection that way, okay? Nevertheless, people from all over the world want to get into the West. And you have over here these so-called the anti-white light types like Benny Shapiro's talking about, and that other guy we were talking about last week, talking about how, pardon me, oh, you have to have assimilation. You have to have assimilation, even though that's never happened. That's never happened. I pointed out, look at the Jews. Look how long we've had Jews in our midst, or we've been in their midst, and they've never assimilated. There's still a very distinct people. The reason why I explained last week is because there can only be imitation. There cannot be assimilation. Maybe that needs to be another meme curative. Somebody who knows me, write that down and get that to me. There is no assimilation. There's only imitation. That's all there can be. And that's good. That's good when you have a scenario like we had in the West, where you have the non-white groups that are present are numerically diffident, and they are good people. They're wonderful people. And they want the West to be Western. They want America to be Western. They want Canada to be Western. They want these different countries of the West to be Western because they like the norms. They like the rules. They like the order. They like the civility. They like law and order. They like the ability to have clean running water and electricity and all of these other things. They like those things. Why wouldn't they? So back in the day, we used to be able to go out to the school bus, get on board with, I don't know, Mrs. Johnson. Hey, Mrs. Johnson. And she'd be like, hello, Tommy. Hello, Tommy. Come and get on the bus. And don't be naughty, Tommy. And Tommy was like, okay. Remember when Tommy was like, talk too loud on the bus? Remember that? And and then Miss Johnson, she would look up in the big rear view mirror that was like as big as, like the bathroom mirror. And you're like, why do they need that? And she's got that up there, and she'd look up there and you'd see her eyeballs for just a moment. And she'd be like, pipe down. And you'd be like, oh, everybody would quiet down. You remember those days? They're gone. They're gone because not only do you have a school bus driver now, since things are being so white erased, you actually have in some places a security officer, but in many places, a bus driver helper, another adult, because of the violence, because everything that was normal for Western civilization has been taken out. They've said retributive justice here. What? You can't have the kids have to sit quietly. That's what white people did. No, they need to be able to express themselves. They need to be able to say, well, and then you get to the schools and you say, whoa, looky here. And we've covered this many times. Look at all of the non-white children that keep getting suspended for this, that, and the other thing. We need equity. We need the same outcome, the same number of suspensions for white students as non-white students. And they say, well, how are we going to do that? Well, obviously, we will just suspend fewer non-white students. And you can look into this for yourself. It's my opinion. Maybe I read wrong. Maybe I looked at the videos wrong. So check it out for yourself. And then they say, actually, there are actual videos of like, but please look for yourself. Actual videos of county boards talking about, well, we're going to need to punish the non-white children less. We don't want the school to prison pipeline to continue to, because that's why so many non-white people are ending up in prison, because they're just treated too roughly in schools of the West. And then the white children, we're going to have to be even more critical with them. We're going to have more strictures for them. We're going to have to punish them inordinately so we end up with equity at the end of the day. And then everybody's fair. Then it's fair. Doesn't that sound fair to you? Only in anti-white dystopian hell does that sound fair. And then, of course, non-white people, of all non-white people, but good non-white people are able to look at this and say, well, no, wait a second. That means there's going to be like anarchy. Maybe like anarchy on the bus where I'm not able to protect my child. Yeah. So you need to help white people who are finally standing up for ourselves out of love, not out of playing the villain. Continue to give those people the middle finger. You need to stand up with white people who are standing up out of love to put an end to this anti-whiteism so that we can save the world we live in. Got it? You need to do that. Yeah, I'm a white man telling you what you got to do. It's just a fact. We have to turn this anti-white narrative upside down. We have to turn it upside down. We need people looking to white men with phenotypes like mine and saying, okay, we've been ignoring you all long enough. We've been ignoring what you've said long enough. Now's the time we should start listening, because things are getting real bad. Things are ratcheting up on the global scale in competition with countries like China that would, in my opinion, would very happily wipe out the United States if they could. And they're doing everything they can, in my opinion, to ramp up for that sort of thing. I wonder what Miami will look like under communist Chinese rule. I wonder what it will look like for my people. I wonder what it'll look like for your people, where you have the social scores and everything else, and your life means nothing whatsoever. Wonder what it'll look like then. So my guess is that this non-white little boy, or no, sorry, teenager, by the way, this is why, at least in Northern Virginia, where I went to school, you have something called a middle school. In God's name, it makes no sense to put kindergartners with 7th and 8th graders. And then maybe even you shouldn't have 6th, 7th, and 8th graders together. Just there is a period of 7th and 8th grade where you're talking about 11, 12, 13, where depending upon the different genetic heritage of the different groups, my opinion, of course, you really are having a lot of a fast adulthood taking place, a fast maturing taking place. And you're going to put them with little tiny babies? That makes no sense. In this Miami-Dade County, they've got K through 8th grade. So we're talking about 13, 14 years of age. And who knows? I mean, if you're held back enough, maybe that kid was 15. Could you imagine that? I mean, he was as big. He's big. Looks like a man standing on this bus, wailing on this 9-year-old little girl. He's big. So, by the way, he's the weapon. When you are massive, you are the weapon. So these people who will say of like what was the gentle giant out in the middle of the street, when they say, oh, yeah, no, he was unarmed. No, when you can punch someone and kill them, you are the weapon with your size, with your bulk, with your natural strength. You are the weapon. So here you have him. He understands, coming up through schooling now that is increasingly white erased, that he can do a lot of things and not get in trouble. And maybe the salty guy talks about it in this video. I think he might. But I had to play him when I was in the shower, so I didn't get to hear all of it. But they gave him like a little note, like that was his arrest. Don't do this again. I mean, can you imagine? When in a white Western school system, his ass would be gone so fast, everyone's heads would spin. And everyone would know, holy, you don't do that. He would be thrown out of school. The principal would say, you are gone. I'm writing it up right now. Your ass is gone. And we're going to turn you over to the police for juvenile detention. You need to be arrested. You need to be arrested. You need to be taken from your family. You need to be put in a facility where you will learn while you're still young that if you behave like this in civilization, which we're going to maintain in this scenario, that you are going to end up in a similar place for the rest of your life. So you're going to have an opportunity. Rest assured, if I were in charge, I've talked about this before. If I were the principal at a all non-white school, even the worst one you could pick in America, and I would be allowed to do whatever I want to do, oh, them kids would do well in life. They would do well. They would be law-abiding. They would have good life. Would have whatever job that they worked hard enough for, whatever their potentials that were bequeathed to them genetically from their parents, whatever it might be. They would do well in life. That's not going to happen for these kids. It's absolutely not going to happen. What's going to happen? The little girl is traumatized for life. That's not going anywhere. You're not 9 years old. And I'm trying to play this video. I'm so bent out of shape over this. We've got to talk about what's really happening. It is white erasure. And this speaks to a lot of our new brothers and sisters who are coming in from the white sympathetic sphere who are implicit. This is happening. Don't just say standards. Don't just say the rules have to be applied more. Don't say whatever you say. Don't say it's wokeism. Don't say it's wokies. Don't say it's liberalism. There ain't nothing liberal about allowing a child to become a perfect monster predator over the course of their youth and then releasing that onto the country. There's nothing liberal about that. It is anti-whites and anti-whiteism that have white erased. If you don't acknowledge where we are being victimized, you will never succeed. You cannot defend yourself if you don't acknowledge the point of attack. You say, well, I don't see color. I hear that from a lot of my brothers and sisters out there who are implicit. A lot of good patriots, a lot of good conservatives out there. Listen, your inability to see color, your handicap does not stop them from victimizing you there. You have to defend where they attack. That doesn't make you a Nazi. That makes you a sane, loving, rational person who wants good for all people and can recognize that if we don't put an end to the anti-whiteism causing all of this, everything gets worse for everyone.